Okay, so I changed up my idea of a mountain toward a rock cutout. The reason that I made the change was because if you look at this amount of landscape right here, and once you put a building in place, I didn't want a sheer cliff face behind it, because in my mind I'm thinking if the landscape would only come out this far or so anyway, the railroad would not carve a tunnel from there to there. Instead, they would get rid of the landform and just make a cutout. I wanted to put the tunnel in there for some a visual break and some interest, but it just didn't really make sense that that would really happen. So in light of everything, I just decided to make a cutout instead. So we'll continue from this point to fill in the voids, shape it up, and then we'll do our landscape on top of it. Okay, so I have hot glued these pieces all together, and we're going to do, as I said previously, the rock cutout rather than a short tunnel. And I think I'm going to either take some newspaper and ball it up and put it inside the middle, or I may take some spray foam and fill that I can also fill between here, and that I can shape that into a landform. But if I do that, I'm gonna want to do it in place, and I'm gonna want to use wax paper all hanging down the backdrop and on the base, so that this thing is removable and it doesn't stick. So let me cut it off here. We'll come back with more progress. Okay, so it has been approximately 15 minutes. I don't know if this is finished foaming up, expanded or not, but it's a little thin right up there at that peak right here. It's a little thin. I would have liked a little more height out of that. This came out out here nice, so I've got stuff to carve there. I don't know that I really want to do too much with the foam on this part here. I may just use like the sculpt the mold, stuff like that there. I don't want to get this form built out too much, because this does run right pretty close to the track. Same with this area right here. So we'll let this continue to work. It says that it's tack-free in 10 minutes and fully cured in 6 hours, depending on humidity. And it is lightly raining, and I'm out here in the screen porch. So I'm just going to let this be, and I'll just see where I'm at in a little while. All right. Okay, so Foam Mountain is back in place, and it did continue to expand quite a bit while it was sitting. And so now I'll take my hot wire knife and my razor knife, loofah blade, whatever you want to call it, and I'll shape up this part of the foam, and then I'm pretty sure I will tackle this area here with the Sculpt-A-Mold to help contour things, and we'll give it a paint job, and then we'll sprinkle some real dirt and some ground foam and stuff on it, and start making some rock outcroppings and shape up the landform. Okay. All right, so I got it somewhat rough cut in. I don't want to make it too soft and round and perfect, but I want to cut back enough that I can actually build up with the Sculpt-A-Mold and the plaster and stuff, so that I can make rock cuts and stuff to give it some definition. But it is shaping up nice. I'll continue messing with this a little more. I'll cut the camera off for now, and I'll come back when we have some Sculpt-A-Mold added to this. Okay, I'm back. I continued cutting into this a little more. I don't really want to go too far, but I'm thinking I can always build it back up with the Sculpt-A-Mold. You hate to pile it on and grind it off, but it's a process, and you can always add back to it. What I have done now, though, I wanted to show, is that I've bagged up most of what I've cut off. As you can see, as long as you got a flat surface, you can always use it for built-up landforms other places around the layout, just by simply molding them in to what you've already got on your flat foam. So we'll see how that goes down the road. Okay, so I'm pretty excited about this step here. I I hung wax paper all on the background, right down behind the landform, so I wouldn't get any plaster, sculpt the mold, paint, whatever, onto my trees in the background. And I taped up my track with some painter's tape. And then I mixed up my little batch of shredded paper, tissue paper, permacene, and some plaster of Paris. And I made it into a nice goop that I could work with both my hand and a small little trowel. And so I kind of feathered it in up against the backdrop and kind of gave it a contour away from the backdrop. And I'm going to add a little more in these deep crevices. And then where I've got it all kind of like smoothed out here, I'm going to switch to plaster cloth. And I'll put some plaster cloth up on top of what we have here. And then I can add a little more of the sculpt the mold and some regular plaster of Paris to dry cut some rocks into and whatnot. So we'll cut it off at here and I'll come back with another update. Okay, so last night when I did all of this landscaping here on our mountain, I wasn't able to film the progress because the television was on in the background, and that is all copyright, so I could not have sound, so I couldn't do my video. But this morning I've cleaned up the area slightly, and as you can see, I've taken some marker and I've drawn on the base where I want some more of the landform to extend. So I'm going to continue with this, and then we'll be back. Okay, so what I've decided to do here to build these areas up, if you remember, I cut the foam into shape with the loofah knife, and I saved these pieces of scrap. Well, we're going to see if we can make use of those to build up these areas, save a little material. So let's see how it goes. I got my weld bond glue. so I got some basic landform built up a little bit. I guess I could put a little more in there. And that's just going to aid in some of my material usage. Make use of the scrap here, just so I can build that up a little easier and a little quicker. And so I'll mix up some stuff, and we'll show that process, being I don't have the TV on in the background. Okay, so we're back. I've got my homemade slurry sculpt them all mixed up. And again, this is just shredded newspaper, tissue paper, permacene, and some plaster of Paris. Let's butter a little bit on. Okay, so that takes up all that I've mixed up at this point. I'll go mix up a little more, and we'll do this little area here, and I'll see what I'm going to do about this flat area. I'm almost wanting to extend like this block work out into here, but it would have been easier to do it before I installed that, and then just let some ground cover, you know, hang down. In which case I should have chamfered this edge, which I can always do after the fact. I did up here. This was sticking out here, and I took and cut it right back with my loofah knife. So let me mix up some more stuff, and we'll be back. Now this area here, I mixed this stuff up extra soupy. I'm thinking I want to maybe even brush this. We'll see, because I don't want a lot of buildup. I just want some texture. And that area over there, I'm still thinking about what I'm going to do with that, so I'm not going to tackle that right now. I want all that to dry real good before I tackle it. I can't use the hot wire knife on this edge because I got the sculpt mold up there, and that's hard, and the wire knife won't cut through that. And it's right up against the wall. It's going to be a little tricky to chamfer it down. I might use a Surform. We'll see. So I'm just going to let that go for now. This brush is soft. It allows me to stab it right down in deep and not build up a lot of texture. I am a little concerned about the overhang as I come around this curve. I don't want a train car to scuff, and I got my track taped up, so I can't even roll a car through there at this point. I could set one on, Maybe I could roll this guy down just to get an idea. All right, that's close. Might be okay. If not, I will cut it back a little bit, but we might be all right. All right, so that's where we're going to leave that for now. All right, folks, I wanted to jump in here with one quick observation. As I had mentioned earlier, that I was making a slurry of shredded newspaper, tissue paper, plaster of Paris, and the permacene. Well, the area that you're looking at right now in dark brown, that is not just because it's wet that is dark brown, but that is permacene by itself. As you can see, of course, the white below it is plaster cloth, but above it is the permacene mixed with that plaster of Paris and the paper, and that made a much smoother texture. If I can zoom in even a little more, you can see that the permacene by itself is very gritty, and with the plaster it smooths it out quite a bit, and it was actually a little easier to work. So that there's just an observation that I wanted to share. So if you ever get the product, you have two ways to go: just straight by itself, or mix it with a little plaster of Paris. The only reason I put the paper in with it is to give it a little more filler, not really to deal with the texture at all, just to make it go a little further. So we're gonna leave you with that for at this point.